I never expected to see Jesus. I am a Muslim. In Islam, we honor him as a prophet, Isa ibn Maryam, peace be upon him. We respect him deeply, but we do not worship him. We do not pray to him. We do not expect him to appear to us in visions or dreams. That is simply not how our faith works. So what happened to me on the night of August 15, 2023, still does not fit neatly into any category I understand. That day, I had been awake for nearly 18 hours straight, managing a security crisis in the northern provinces. Meetings, reports, arguments, emergency calls, one after another, without pause. By the time I returned to my residence, my body felt heavier than my own thoughts. I did not even remove my uniform. I collapsed onto the bed the way a soldier falls after a long march, without ceremony, without reflection, without prayer. And that was when everything changed. I found myself standing somewhere that did not belong to the waking world. It was not a room. It was not outdoors. It was something in between. The air was heavy, not with heat or smoke, but with meaning. The kind of weight you feel just before a storm breaks, when the sky itself seems to be holding its breath. Light came from everywhere and nowhere at once. There were no shadows, yet nothing was flat. Everything felt sharper than reality, more solid than memory. And then I saw him. I knew who he was instantly. I cannot explain how. There was no announcement, no voice from the sky, no sign written in fire. Knowledge simply arrived in me fully formed, the way truth sometimes does in moments of fear or love. It was Jesus. Not the European figure from paintings and stained glass. Not pale, not fragile, not draped in spotless white. He looked like a man of the Middle East, skin darkened by sun and wind, lines carved by hardship, hands rough, strong, marked by work. His clothes were simple, worn, dust still clinging to the fabric as if he had just finished a long journey on foot. But his eyes, they held a depth I had never seen in any human being. Not judgment, not softness, something heavier, understanding. When he spoke my name, it was neither loud nor gentle, yet it carried both authority and mercy. Ibrahim. My body reacted before my mind could. I tried to lower myself, to prostrate, to show respect the way I had been taught to do before the prophets. But he raised his hand slightly, not commanding, not harsh, final. His voice did not echo, yet it seemed to enter me from every direction. "There is something you must understand," he said, "something I came to warn you about." My heart was beating hard enough to hurt. This has to be a dream, I told myself. A hallucination born from exhaustion, from stress, from responsibility pressing too heavily on the mind. I am not Christian. I do not seek Jesus in prayer. I do not expect revelation through him. And yet everything around me felt more real than the world I had fallen asleep in. The ground beneath my feet had weight. The air against my skin had movement. His presence had gravity. "Why me?" I asked. My voice sounded small, even to myself. "I honor you as a prophet, but I do not follow your religion. Why would you come to me?" He studied me for a moment. There was sadness in his expression. "Because those who speak my name have forgotten my words," he said. "Because many who worship me no longer follow me. Because many who respect me do not understand why I came." Then his eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in urgency. "And because you are approaching a decision that will shape the lives of thousands." Before I could respond, the world around us dissolved. The light folded inward. The air darkened. And suddenly we were standing on a hill. Below us lay a city. I recognized it instantly. My capital. But it was broken. Smoke rose from several districts. Sirens cut through the air. Distant gunfire echoed like thunder trapped inside stone. People ran through the streets in every direction, some carrying children, others bleeding, many screaming without words. My stomach tightened. "What is this?" I whispered. "When is this?" He did not look away from the burning city. "6 months from now," he said, "if you choose wrong." The scene shifted again. Now I was indoors, inside a command center. Screens covered the walls, maps, surveillance feeds, lists of names, military symbols, red markers moving across the country like spreading wounds. I was sitting at the center of it all. Older, harder, my posture rigid, my uniform flawless, my face expressionless. Men spoke to me. I nodded. Documents were placed before me. I signed them without reading. Orders were given. Lives were decided. And my eyes, they were empty, not cruel, worse, indifferent. This is what happens, Jesus said quietly, when holding power becomes more important than serving people. When security becomes more sacred than justice. When control replaces conscience. The images changed once more. Prisons, dark rooms, men suspended from ceilings, women crying in corridors, families pulled apart in silence during the night, and always, somewhere in the background, me, approving, justifying, explaining, telling myself it was necessary, telling myself it was temporary, telling myself I had no choice. I shook my head violently. No, I said, this is not me. I did not take power to become this. I took it to end this. Jesus turned to face me. Every word landed like a stone. Every tyrant begins by saying the same thing. They all believe they are different. They all believe their intentions protect them. Power does not arrive as a monster, Ibrahim. It arrives as a voice that tells you you are indispensable, that only you can save your country, that anything is justified if it keeps you in control. The burning city faded. The prisons dissolved. Only the light remained, and the weight of what I had seen stayed inside my chest. He raised his hand. Between us, the air began to shimmer, as if heat were rising from invisible ground. Shapes formed inside the light, unclear at first, then sharp. This is the first temptation, he said. The image settled. I saw myself sitting at a long table inside a military conference room. Maps on the walls, flags in the corners. My senior officers around me, men who had supported the coup, men who had risked their lives to put me in power. Their faces were tense, angry, afraid. One of them was speaking. "Captain, we have intelligence," he said. "Opposition groups are organizing. Foreign agents are involved. If we wait, we lose control." Another leaned forward. "We need to act now. Arrest them before they grow stronger. Journalists, activists, politicians, anyone who can mobilize the streets." A folder appeared on the table. Thick, full of names. I recognized many of them. Some were loud critics. Some were uncomfortable voices. Some were simply people who refused to stay silent. "They will call this stability," Jesus said beside me. "They will call it security. They will tell you mercy is weakness. They will tell you fear is necessary. They will tell you that freedom can wait." The image froze. "This moment will come within weeks," he continued, "and when it does, you will be offered a simple bargain. Control or conscience. Order or justice. Power or service." I watched my future self hesitate in the vision. "They will not tell you to become a tyrant," Jesus said. "They will tell you to become responsible, to be realistic, to do what must be done." I felt my throat tighten. "What if they're right?" I asked. "What if mercy gives my enemies time to destroy everything we've built?" He did not hesitate. "Then you lose while doing what is right." He looked directly at me. "That is better than winning by becoming what you hate." "I was executed as a failure by the standards of the world," he said calmly, "but I did not betray my purpose. You must decide which loss you fear more, the loss of power or the loss of your soul." The vision faded, but the question remained, heavy and unanswered. The light shifted again. A second image formed between us. This time, I was seated in a polished office. The walls were clean, modern, decorated with flags that were not mine. Across from me sat foreign officials, men in tailored suits, calm voices, careful smiles. Behind them stood charts, economic forecasts, security reports, development plans, numbers rising upward in confident lines. "They will come offering survival," Jesus said, "money, weapons, recognition. They will tell you your country is too weak to stand alone. They will tell you your people need help. In the vision, one of the men leaned forward. Partnership, he said smoothly. Stability. Mutual benefit. Another placed a folder on the table. Inside were agreements, loans, military cooperation, access to natural resources, influence disguised as assistance. They will not use the word obedience, Jesus continued. They will use the word pragmatism. They will say ideology does not feed children. They will say principles do not build hospitals. They will say dignity cannot protect borders. I watched my future self hesitate again, fingers resting on a pen. What they are really offering, Jesus said, is comfort in exchange for ownership, your economy for their control, your revolution for their approval, your independence for their protection. I turned to him. My people need schools, I said. They need medicine, roads, electricity. If I refuse, they suffer. There is always a price, he replied. The question is, who pays it? True partnership strengthens both sides. Colonization only changes its language. If they ask you to surrender your voice, your resources, your right to choose your own future, then the aid is not a gift, it is a leash. He paused, then spoke softly. Better to struggle with dignity than to prosper as property. The image dissolved, the office vanished, but the weight of that choice pressed just as heavily as the first. The light between us dimmed, then reshaped itself one last time. This vision was quieter. No soldiers, no foreign officials, no crowds, only an office at night. My office. The room was lit by a single lamp. Papers covered the desk. Outside the window, the Capitol slept. Across from me sat a man I knew well, a brother in everything but blood. We had trained together, planned together, risked our lives together. He had stood beside me when the old regime fell. Now, he would not meet my eyes. In the vision, documents lay open between us. Bank records, witness statements, evidence of bribes and secret deals. Corruption. Real. Undeniable. He will say it was only once, Jesus said quietly. He will say everyone does it. He will remind you of battles you survived together. He will remind you of loyalty. He will ask if friendship means nothing. In the vision, the man finally spoke. Without me, you would not be here, he said. Are you really going to destroy me over money? My future self looked torn, tired, human. This temptation will be the hardest, Jesus said, because it will not come dressed as fear or ambition. It will come dressed as love, as memory, as gratitude, as loyalty. He turned to me. But a nation cannot be built on private forgiveness. If the law bends for friends, if principles disappear for allies, then justice becomes decoration, and revolution becomes theater. I felt my chest tighten. What if punishing him destroys morale? I asked. What if others turn against me? They might, Jesus said. You may lose allies. You may lose friendships. You may lose the comfort of being loved. But you will keep something greater: credibility, trust, and the knowledge that power does not protect its own. He stepped closer. When leaders place relationships above justice, they teach their people that corruption is permanent. When leaders choose justice over loyalty, they teach their people that no one is untouchable. The vision faded. The office vanished. The man disappeared. But the choice remained, sharp and unavoidable. 3 temptations. 3 lines that could not be crossed without becoming someone else. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The visions were gone, but their weight remained, pressing against my ribs like invisible stone. How am I supposed to survive this? I asked. How do I lead without becoming cruel or foolish? He looked at me steadily. By remembering what I actually taught, he said, not what people made convenient, not what protects institutions, not what excuses power, but what demands everything. His voice did not rise. It deepened. I taught that the greatest must become the servant of all, that leadership is not measured by how many obey you, but by how many you protect. I taught that a tree is judged by its fruit, not by its slogans. That you cannot serve God in greed. You cannot serve truth and domination. You cannot worship justice and practice cruelty. The air around him seemed to grow still. I said the poor are not weak. They are witnesses. I said the hungry, the mourning, the forgotten, are closer to God than kings. And I said that whatever you do to the least protected among you, you do to me. He took one step closer. These are not metaphors. They are instructions. They are the only way power does not rot the soul. I swallowed. I will fail, I said. I am human. I will choose wrong sometimes. Yes, he answered immediately. You will. That is not the danger. The danger is pretending you did not. The danger is calling mistakes strategy, and cruelty necessity. The difference between a ruler and a tyrant is not perfection. It is repentance. It is the courage to reverse course. It is the humility to admit you were wrong. The light around us began to thin. The world felt farther away, as if gravity itself were calling me back. Wait, I said. How will I know this was real? How will I know this wasn't only exhaustion speaking? For the first time, he smiled. Not triumphantly, not mysteriously, simply. Does it matter? If the path is true, if the warning is true, if the choice is real, then the source is secondary. But then his expression grew serious again. When you wake, he said, you will receive a message, within 24 hours, from someone you do not expect, about something you could not have predicted. That will be your confirmation. The light collapsed inward, the air fell away, and the world began to fold. I woke up gasping for air. My sheets were soaked, my uniform clung to my back. My heart was beating as if it had been running ahead of me while I slept. For several seconds, I did not know where I was. Then the ceiling came into focus. My room, my body, reality. I reached for my watch. 3:47 a.m. Less than 2 hours had passed. It felt like days. I stood up and began to pace. Slowly at first, then faster. My mind replayed everything. The light, the warnings, the city in flames, the prisons, the three choices. Was it only stress? A mind breaking under pressure? Or something else? I did not sleep again. I prayed. Not for answers, for clarity, for strength, for the kind of wisdom no intelligence report could provide. Before dawn, I opened my notebook and began writing. Every detail, every word I could remember. I expected the images to fade, the way dreams always do. They did not. They sharpened. By morning, I was exhausted but focused, as if something inside me had been aligned. The day unfolded normally. Meetings, briefings, security updates, arguments about budgets and borders. Outwardly, nothing had changed. Inside, I was counting hours. He had said 24. By evening, doubt crept in. No message, no sign. Perhaps my mind had invented that part too. At 11:43 p.m., my phone rang. My personal phone. The one only a handful of people knew. The number was foreign. France. I stared at the screen, then answered. Captain, an elderly voice said in French, thick with an African accent. My name is Father Emmanuel Antakarutamana. I do not know you, I said. No, he replied softly, but I knew Thomas Sankara. My body went still. He continued. I was his spiritual advisor during the last years of his life. I sat down. How did you get this number? I asked. That is not important, he said. What matters is why I am calling. My grip tightened around the phone. I had a dream last night, he said. A vision. I am 83 years old. I have been a priest for 6 decades. This has never happened to me before. There was a pause. Jesus appeared to me. My breath stopped. He told me you had also received a warning, that you would doubt it, and that I must confirm it. My hands began to shake. What did he tell you? I whispered. 3 things, the priest said, and then he spoke them. The first, Shankara stayed faithful to his principles and was killed for it. He lost power, but his example outlived his enemies. The second, Shankara refused foreign control, even when it cost him support. Independence was worth the price. The third, Shankara punished corruption even among friends. When others later protected their own, the revolution died. They were the same warnings, not similar, identical. Tears blurred my vision. "How is this possible?" I asked. "I do not know," he said, "but I believe God speaks in many languages, even in dreams." We spoke for a long time after that, about Sankara, about betrayal, about power. Before we ended the call, he said one last thing. He also had dreams near the end. He knew what was coming, and he chose his principles anyway. The line went silent, but my doubt was gone. 2 weeks later, the warning became real. My senior military officers requested an emergency meeting. They arrived with urgency in their voices and fear in their eyes. Intelligence reports were placed on the table, intercepted messages, names circled in red, maps covered with arrows and dates. "There is a coordinated threat," my security chief said. "Opposition groups are mobilizing. Foreign interests are involved." Another officer pushed a folder toward me. A list of key figures, journalists, activists, political organizers. "We must act now," he added, "before they do." I opened the folder. Some names were familiar. Loud critics, uncomfortable voices, people who embarrassed the government on social media. Not terrorists, not soldiers, citizens. My heart began to pound. This was it. The first temptation, exactly as I had seen it. "Captain," one officer said, lowering his voice, "this is not the time to be soft. If you hesitate, you will lose control." The room waited, every face fixed on me. I heard the words from the dream as clearly as if they were spoken aloud. "They will call it security. They will call it stability. They will call it responsibility." I closed the folder. "No," I said. Silence fell. "With respect," the security chief replied, "this is naive. These people want to destroy what you built." "Then we answer them with truth," I said, "not prisons. We monitor them. We investigate real crimes. We protect the country. But we do not arrest people for speaking. That is what the old regime did. That is why it fell." One officer stood. "You are making a dangerous mistake." "Then it will be my mistake," I answered. Some left the room angry, others disappointed, none satisfied. In the weeks that followed, we investigated quietly instead. Most of the people on that list were not plotting anything. They were worried, angry about prices, angry about corruption, afraid the revolution would betray them. I met with some of them, listened, argued, changed a few policies, and something unexpected happened. They stopped being enemies. They became critics, which is different and healthy. I had passed the first test, barely, but I had not crossed the line. 4 months later, the second warning arrived. This time, it wore a suit. The French ambassador requested a private meeting. He came with calm confidence, practiced sympathy, and a proposal carefully wrapped in friendly language. "France wants stability for your country," he said. "Partnership, support, a new chapter." He spoke of military cooperation, economic assistance, international recognition, loans with generous terms, training programs, development funds. On paper, it was everything my advisors wanted. My economy was fragile, my army under-equipped, my government still struggling for legitimacy. After he finished, my economic advisor leaned toward me. "We need this," he whispered. "We cannot build a nation alone." I looked back at the ambassador. "And the conditions?" I asked. He smiled. "Nothing unusual. Cooperation, mutual understanding." I waited. He continued more carefully. "A more moderate tone toward France. Continued access for our companies to your mineral sector. A shared security framework. In other words, stop calling colonialism what it is. Stop challenging French influence. Stop touching French interests. Trade independence for comfort. I remembered the words from the dream. They will offer you survival in exchange for ownership. So, I said slowly, you support us if we stop being independent. That is not how I would phrase it, he replied. It is how history will, I said. The room grew cold. This is how nations develop, he said, through realism. No, I answered. This is how they remain owned. The meeting ended politely, but badly. Within weeks, aid was delayed. Diplomatic support cooled. Western recognition slowed. My advisors panicked. You are isolating us, they said. I was not calm, but I was certain. We found other partners. Not generous, not easy, but honest. The economy suffered. Progress slowed. But we kept our voice, our resources, our right to choose. I had passed the second test and paid for it. The last warning took almost a year to arrive. When it did not come as an enemy. It came as a brother. One of my closest allies was accused of taking bribes from construction contractors. Quiet money, foreign accounts, inflated contracts, real evidence. At first, I refused to believe it. He had stood beside me when others hid. He had slept on the floor during the coup. He had bled with us. My advisors urged silence. Handle it privately, they said. Protect him. The revolution needs unity. I asked to see him alone. He entered my office slowly, eyes already wet. I showed him the documents. He denied it. Then he stopped. Then he whispered, yes. He fell into the chair across from me. It was a mistake, he said, just once. I deserved something for everything I sacrificed. Then he looked up at me. You and I built this together. You will not destroy me over money. His voice broke. You are my brother. Everything in me wanted to believe him, to erase the papers, to make it disappear. I heard the warning again. This will be the hardest because it will come from love. I stood. I love you, I said, but you stole from the future of our people. You used the revolution to enrich yourself. If I protect you, I prove we are no different from the ones we overthrew. He stared at me as if I had struck him. I removed him from his position, referred the case to prosecutors. I lost a friend. I lost the trust of some allies. I gained enemies. But something else happened. People believed us. For the first time, they believed the law was real, that power did not protect its own, that the revolution was not theater. I had passed the third test and paid the deepest price. It has been 2 years since that night. 2 years since I saw a future I did not want to become. 2 years since a warning arrived in a form I never expected. 2 years since I learned that the most dangerous battles are not fought with weapons, but with excuses. I will not pretend I became a perfect leader. I have made mistakes. I have chosen convenience over courage more than once. I have justified decisions I should have questioned longer. Power is patient. It does not shout. It whispers. It tells you that you are necessary, that rules are for others, that history will forgive you if your intentions are good. That is how tyranny is born, not from evil men, but from tired men who stop listening to their conscience. I do not know if what I experienced was a message from God, a vision from Jesus, or the deepest voice of my own soul breaking through exhaustion. I only know this: the warnings were true, the temptations were real, and the path is always there, waiting. The path where control slowly replaces compassion, where security buries justice, where loyalty strangles truth. Every morning I wake up with the same choice: to serve or to rule, to protect people or to manage them, to remain human or to become efficient at forgetting what that means. Power does not end this choice, it multiplies it. History will decide whether I succeeded, but I already know what success is not. It is not staying in office forever. It is not silencing every enemy. It is not being feared. Success is this: to lose power if necessary, without losing your soul. That is the warning I was given, and it is the decision I must make again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Because leadership is not one moment. It is a lifetime of refusing to become the thing you once rose up to destroy.